If you're at 80 or 90% of your retirement plan, you don't quite have enough money to retire, you've got a couple options. The first is to cut expenses. The second is to generate additional revenue. And the third one, I promise you don't want to do, but I'll talk about it at the end. Let's go for a walk and I'll talk about some of the more common ways to generate revenue when you're in retirement. And the last one I'm going to talk about is the one that retirees report they make the most money doing in the fewest number of hours. So be sure to stay until the end. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is teaching English to people. It tends to be mostly people in Asia, but teaching English to people in Europe or Asia. And what a lot of people don't realize is you don't need to speak the students' language. They tend to be kids that you're teaching, and the companies, the platforms that match you up with students, match parents up with the tutors, they don't want you to speak English. They don't want you to speak the kids' language. So if your student's from Korea, they don't want you speaking Korean. They want you speaking English all the time. So there's really no requirements. Tends to be something that's popular with young people right after college so that they can travel. But you know what? There's no reason it can't be popular with people getting close to retirement as well. So that's number one. Number two, again, using this online platform, is maybe being a virtual assistant to somebody. If you've worked for 20, 30, 40 years, you know what? You're probably going to be a really good virtual assistant for somebody. You understand how office dynamics work. You understand how to get things done. You've probably been dealing with a boss for a long, long time. And the reason people hire virtual assistants is they don't want to pay somebody full-time. They don't have the money to do that. So it tends to work out really well. If ideally you'd only work 1 or 2 days a week, your interests are aligned with that person. So another one is being a virtual assistant. There's various platforms. Upwork is one. Fiverr.com is another one. Fiverr. I'm not sponsored by any of these. I've been a customer of Fiverr.com and I've been super happy with that. It's just a platform to connect people with freelancers, a graphic designer, an editor for something that you write, a writer, etc. Okay, let's keep going. Staying on the subject of being geographically flexible. You can also think, and this is one that you might think, hey, Azul, I'm not sure about this one, but trust me. It is something that a lot of retirees can learn and can do. And that's being a copywriter, basically writing marketing materials for small and mid-sized companies. You know, every company is selling something, whether it's a product that they're selling to another company or it's a service that they're selling to consumers or to other companies. And every company needs to describe what their services are and to try to generate additional business by what they write, try to close the sale. And you may never have done marketing in your life, but it's a skill that can be learned. I've never learned it, but I've met several people that are traveling the world. They're nomadic, and they had no experience in it either. And they took a couple courses. Courses don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be long. They don't have to be 6 months or a year. For $20 or $30, you can probably pick up a really good course on Udemy, U-D-E-M-Y, udemy.com. There's books on the subject. There's YouTube videos on the subject. So copywriting tends to be a skill that people can pick up. Because every small to medium-sized company needs somebody to help them with this, and a lot of the companies, people are wearing multiple hats, it tends to be something that is easier to get contracted out and do that type of work. So that's another idea. Remember, the one that pays the most and requires the fewest hours is coming up, so stay with me here. If you're enjoying this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. It helps other people find the video. Let's keep going. Another one that's more common you may have heard of is people doing seasonal work. So, you know, your retailer down the street, you know, holiday time, November, December, early January, needs additional help. One that retirees report really enjoy working at is working at the national parks, whether that's being a camp host or it's working in one of the stores. You tend to get lodging included for free. You tend to get food. You could rent out your house while you're doing that. So it could be something worth exploring doing for a period of time. Okay, and now for the one that pays the most and tends to require the fewest hours. In addition to giving me a thumbs up, if you haven't subscribed yet, think about doing that and leave me a comment. It really does mean a lot. So the one that people report making the most money with and oftentimes have a high level of joy is actually consulting back to their business or to the industry if they have the freedom to do that. So they've got the expertise, they've been in the industry for 5, 10, sometimes 30 plus years. They have a lot of context, they know how to get stuff done in the industry. If you're working with your previous company, you're already integrated, you've already been trained, you're part of the team. So that can be really powerful. I'm going to share a couple more things with you, but I want to remind you at the end, remember how I said you can retire early, you got 3 paths, you can increase your revenue, you can decrease your expenses, or the third one, which nobody wants to do. Stay tuned because I'm about to get to that. Okay, so the consulting can be a really lucrative job, so it might be worthwhile exploring. And it tends to be your value is the highest rate right at the beginning. And you probably have industry contacts. If that's not something your company's interested in and you have the freedom to do it, you probably have some industry contacts that you can be helpful. I do want to circle back before I get to that number 3 about some of the other gig jobs that people have and that you may not have been thinking about. And we've all probably been clients of this. So one is driving Uber or Lyft. The nice thing about that is you can just plug in and plug out, super easy. You can work as many or as few hours as you want. Another thing that some retirees really enjoy doing is actually Airbnb. You want to be careful. There's a lot of local rules and local regulations and taxes that you have to make sure that you're complying with, and make sure you have insurance, right? Because you don't want somebody getting hurt on your property and suing you, and then it's really hard to retire. So some of these gig economy type jobs can be interesting. It can be super flexible. People report that they enjoy doing these. Another thing with the gig, it's kind of gig economy, but instead of teaching English, you can tutor maybe some subjects that maybe you were really good at. Maybe, you understand accounting and you could tutor on accounting. There's a platform called Wyzant, W-Y-Z-A-N-T. And it tends to be for like high schoolers. So if you're good at math, if you're good at chemistry, if you're good at calculus, the things that high school students struggle with, it might be helpful. Okay, so I talked about increasing revenues. I talked about decreasing costs. What's the third way? The third way is, if we die younger. So if we don't live as long as we're planning. And I told you wouldn't like it. So let's be sure to take full advantage of the youth of our senior years. If you enjoyed this video, I've got a video over here that talks about retiring as soon as you can and why you want to do that and kind of what's the cost if you don't. So thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. I'm Azul.